Hi and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave and this is episode 1136 and today's date is November 25th, 2016 and the title of the episode is The Current Economic Collapse News Brief. Let's get right into the economic collapse news. Now we are seeing more and more problems with respect to the economy. And out in Germany, the NordLB's problem with shipping exposure, well, it was revealed. A whopping 8 billion euro or 40% of its shipping loan book was non-performing, and that NordLB wants provisions to cover 50% by year end. And we can see right now that NordLB, they're facing losses of more than 1 billion euros this year as a result of the latest shoring up of reserves against losses on its portfolio of shipping loans. Now, the largest German bank still has roughly 5 billion in shipping loans on its books, and that bank is Deutsche Bank. And we can see right now that the shipping sector, well, it is declining. We see Hanbij, that shipping company, they went bankrupt, and this is going to spread around the world. And what we're seeing right now is a complete breakdown of the system. The ECB is out there, and they're warning that there are significant risks that there might be a market reversal. The Bank of International Settlement issued an unexpected warning. And the warning says that the US dollar is surging right now, which may lead to an abrupt tightening in financial conditions around the globe, making the repayment of trillions in US dollar denominated cross-border debt more difficult, and suggesting that the dollar index itself is the new fear indicator. And we can see right now that this system right now is built on a gigantic illusion. If we go back to 2008, prior to 2008, and we look at what happened there, they kept the illusion alive. And if you don't believe that was an illusion, think about this for a second. The subprime securities, they were built on a system where they took loans and they didn't care if it was loans that were bad, loans that were good, people were defaulting on it, but the rating agencies kept these loans at AAA. The government, the SEC, all of this didn't say a word. And during this time, not just a month or two, they continually kept this illusion alive. There were a few individuals that were out there saying these are junk. No one would listen. And what we're seeing right now is, if we look at the indicators leading up to the point where it crashed in 2008, we are seeing something very, very similar. And in some respects, the indicators are even worse than they were in 2008. Right now, Russia, they are buying gold. They have accelerated their gold process, their gold purchasing in October. And we can see right now they have purchased 48 metric tons or 1.3 million ounces of gold bullion. This is the largest addition of gold to the Russian monetary reserves since 1998 and could be seen as a parting gift by Putin to Obama, saying, listen, we know that this system is coming down. We are protecting ourselves. We are buying gold. China's buying gold. And we're seeing a lot of central banks, a lot of countries starting to purchase gold and dumping their treasuries, getting rid of their reserves, using what they have right now to purchase more gold. We see Obama as he's leaving the White House. Well, we know that he uses a lot of executive orders, and we can see that he's trying to keep his executive order, or many people say it's a memorandum that he used to create the illegal immigrants, where he allowed them to come into the country and the Border Patrol, DHS, and everyone else can't touch them. And through executive orders and memorandums, we can see the Justice Department is trying to back this up, and they're attempting to force organizations around the country to hire illegal immigrants. For instance, the Denver County Sheriff Office has been slapped with a fine by the Department of Justice because it refused to hire non-citizens as deputies. From the beginning of 2015 through last March, the Denver Sheriff Department went on a major hiring binge. adding more than 200 new deputies, but those jobs ended up only going to citizens because the department made citizenship a stated requirement on the job application. Now, the department, they're going to have to go through all their job applications for the past 2 years, identifying immigrants who were excluded from the hiring process and now giving them due consideration because the U.S. government placed a fine on the sheriff department. But they're saying, how can we hire these individuals to enforce the law when they violated the law? They're here illegally, and they're not citizens. But we can see right now that Obama's plan, the global elite, the shadow government, the central banks, they want the illegals in this country, and it's done for many different reasons. One, they can bypass the penalties by hiring these individuals and corporations where the companies do not have to pay penalties on Obamacare. Two, we understand that the way of life here in the United States is about to change, and we're going to be becoming a third world country once the dollar dies, bringing more of these individuals in. They'll be able to pay them a lot less money. They'll be able to do the work. Three, they use them to manipulate the voting. The more illegals they have in here, they're not tracked. Nobody knows really where they are except for the U.S. government. We have some idea, but they can be placed into different cities and strategically used to boost the popular vote up, and we've seen that done. So we can see right now there are many different agendas associated with bringing illegals into the country. We can also see right now, as this whole thing starts to fall apart, we're going to see the government continually try to push laws that aren't in line with the Constitution. Now, we know that Trump now is moving into the presidency, but we'll have to see what actions he takes and what he actually does while in office. We see the Navy right now. Well, the $4 billion stealth warship, well, it broke down once again. And we can see right now the ship had to be towed to a pier by the Panama Canal Authority. And we can see right now the details of what caused the breakdown. Well, they're really not forthcoming at this point. But we can see right now the ship's integrated power plant, well, it might have contributed to the mishap where the ship had to be towed away. The ship also broke down months ago, and they had to do the same exact thing. Now, out in the Black Sea, this is coming from the Center for European Policy Analysis, which is close to the U.S. government and is funded by the State Department. Well, they prepared a report where it proposes to actually fulfill a program on militarization of the Black Sea Basin. And we can see why they're doing this. Again, they are still preparing for war. The shadow government, the central bank, the global elite, they have not veered off their agenda, their goal. They're still moving forward with this. We can see right now that Europe is deciding to suspend Turkey's EU accession talks. And right now, Erdogan is out there saying, listen, I will open the gates and flood the entire European area with refugees. I will let loose 2 to 4 million refugees into this area if you decide to do this. We can see Erdogan, he wants what he wants. He wants to be part of the EU, even though he's trying to say that he might be moving closer to Russia and China. Maybe he'll join the Shanghai Cooperation. He still wants to be part of the EU, and he's blackmailing the EU to get his way. We see Egypt, well, it's alleged that they might be bringing in fighter jets for the first time into Syria. This is coming out of the Lebanon-based As Safir newspaper, and they're saying that the jets are going to participate in the operations against the Islamic State, which we know this is not really what it's about. Egypt is saying right now that this information is completely false. They are not doing this whatsoever. But again, we will see the actions of the country. We will see exactly what's going on. If they actually do bring jets and they start flying them around, we'll know for a fact what's really going on there. We see the Syrian President Assad, well, he has extended the law of amnesty for 3 months right now, And he's giving the militants 3 months of saying, listen, I will not charge you with anything. You are free to go. You can come over to the Syrian side, work for the armed forces, and there are no charges brought against you. And he's done this many, many times. But we can see the situation in Syria is escalating at this point. Turkey right now is claiming that the Syrian armed force targeted and bombed their soldiers. They're saying that 3 Turkish soldiers were killed and 10 were wounded as a result of combat operations in northern Syria on November 24th. And the Turkish military is blaming Syria for what has happened. But every observer, even the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, has said, no, this is not true whatsoever. The Syrian armed forces did not do this. Now, the question is, why is Erdogan out there making a really big deal and trying to blame Syria for bombing his troops? Well, he's done this before. They're called false flags. Back a year or two ago, what he's done is he had his military men sneak into Syria with missile launches. They set up their missiles in Syria, fired them back into his country, and said Syria was attacking him because he wants to implement Article 5 of NATO, which allows NATO to join into the fight. And what he did at that point is that it was on YouTube, it was on Twitter, that this was completely fake. He tried to shut this down and block it. Well, it looks like he's trying to do the same thing once again. He's trying to bring NATO into the fight. He's using this to start a war, because we can see right now the shadow government, the central bankers, the elite, they're pushing their agenda. Now, the Syrian armed forces, they're out there saying, absolutely not. Our fighters were not in the area whatsoever. We did not bomb this area. So right now, Turkey is on high alert. Their F-16 warplanes were put on emergency standby. And we can see that Turkey has done this before, not just with sending soldiers into Turkey, but the time when Turkey actually shot down a Russian jet where they said, Russia was flying over the border into Turkey and we shot them down. And we know for a fact that the Russian bombers had no missile systems on there that they could fire at other planes. They only had bombs that they can drop and hit targets on the ground. And then we come to find out that the Russian jet was never even in Turkish airspace. Now remember, Turkey flies their military jets and violates Greece's airspace many, many times, but Greece has never shot their planes down. They could have radioed them, they could have done a lot of things, but we can see what Erdogan, the global elite, the shadow government, the central bankers, they want a war. And we're going to see this escalate probably from now until Trump is inaugurated. And even at that point, they're going to try to trap him into getting a war. Because what we're having right now and what we're seeing is that the economy, well, it is deteriorating. It's coming down. We can see right now that they need this war. They like to reduce the population. They like to cover up the economic collapse. They want to blame a country. Because in the end, what they want to do is they want to restart this entire system. And hopefully through the war and everything that goes on, that everyone forgets what has happened prior. That's what they like to do. And this way they can just restart their system. They can create a new currency. They can continually control the people. And many people don't remember what happened. And this is what they're betting on right now. So what is coming in probably the very near future is that the economy is going to collapse. Most likely they're going to try to push war as hard as they possibly can. And during this period of time, you need to be prepared. You need to purchase gold and silver. Protect your wealth. You need to have cash on hand to use that during the crisis when the economy starts falling and crumbling apart. You need to have food and water. You need to have a weapon to protect yourself. You need a plan to move if you need to move out of the area. And we can see at this point that with the Fed raising interest rates in December, which I do believe they're going to say they're going to do and most likely going to do, this is a signal that they're preparing to bring down the entire economy. Because think about it. Europe is in negative interest rates. Bank of Japan, and Japan is keeping the interest rates in the negative territory. And the United States, they're going to be raising the interest rates. And think about the debt. Think about the global debt. Think about the dollar. Think about what the central banks around the world and countries are doing around the world. This whole thing cannot be sustained. They know it, and they're preparing to bring it down. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot. More difficult, and suggesting that the dollar index itself is the new fear indicator. And we can see right now that this system right now is built on a gigantic illusion. If we go back to 2008, prior to 2008, and we look at what happened there, they kept the illusion alive. And if you don't believe that was an illusion, think about this for a second. The subprime securities, they were built on a system where they took loans and they didn't care if it was loans that were bad, loans that were good, people were defaulting on it, but the rating agencies kept these loans at AAA. Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1136, and today's date is November 25th, 2016, and the title of the episode is The Current Economic Collapse News Brief. Let's get right into the economic collapse news. Now, we are seeing more and more problems with respect to the economy, and out in Germany, the NordLB's problem with shipping exposure, well, it was revealed. A whopping 8 billion euro, that shipping company, they went bankrupt, and this is going to spread around the world. And what we're seeing right now is a complete breakdown of the system. The ECB is out there, and they're warning that there are significant risks that there might be a market reversal. The Bank of International Settlement issued an unexpected warning. And the warning says that the US dollar is surging right now, which may lead to an abrupt tightening in financial conditions around the globe, making the repayment of trillions in US dollar denominated cross-border debt more. Or 40% of its shipping loan book was non-performing, and that NordLB wants provisions to cover 50% by year end. And we can see right now that NordLB, they're facing losses of more than 1 billion euros this year as a result of the latest shoring up of reserves against losses on its portfolio of shipping loans. Now, the largest German bank still has roughly 5 billion in shipping loans on its books, and that bank is Deutsche Bank. And we can see right now that the shipping sector, well, it is declining. We see Hanbij